Today's video is going to be another what I've been reading video. I have 7 books to talk to you about and I don't think they could be any more different if I tried. So first up I want to talk about the graphic novel I read. This is Persepolis and I don't know if I'm saying this right. Is it by Marjane, Satrapi maybe? It's about a girl growing up in Iran and then going to live abroad. It's about politics, it's about living in a war-torn place. This is actually a book series, it's 2 books and this is like the bind-up of both books in one. One of them's about her childhood and one's about her adulthood. It's kind of about where do you truly belong, because she has to leave Iran because the war's coming, and so when she goes back to Iran everyone is talking about the war, and so she doesn't feel like she's suffered like they have because she hasn't lived through the war as much as them. But then in other countries people are so privileged. When women have their hair down it seems sexually attractive to men, so women wear the headscarf to kind of not attract men, but that in itself seems very problematic and kind of like slut shaming thing, like oh she was wearing that so she deserved to be attacked. And this kind of talks about it a lot better than I can. I really like the drawing style, it's really dark but there's still, like you can see like characteristics in people's faces. I adored this graphic novel. I then read a little bit of translated literary fiction. This is a very short book. This was originally written in Japanese. It's called The Guest Cat, and again I don't know how to say this man's name. This is about a couple who they don't have any children and they're very intelligent and everything like that, and then a cat starts coming into their house and like somehow appears in the neighbourhood, and it's kind of about who owns a cat, and it's so stunningly written. It is absolutely beautiful. It's all told from the husband's perspective, and he works at a publisher's but he wants to publish his own work, so it's kind of about that. Him and his wife have a really good relationship, which normally in these kind of books it's all about like they have a terrible life and a terrible relationship and this cat's gonna save them all. It was stunning. Loved this book. Now for a little pinch of YA. This is Innocent by Cassidy. I read Cassidy's Talking to Strangers. She writes these really short YA books, and the main character, how I've read so far, is always a girl, and that girl has had some past trauma and something will happen, so like a murder or something, and that girl kind of becomes detective. You've got a girl, she lives with her dad and her brother. Her mum left them ages ago and it really delves into that relationship. Her brother since then has just kept on getting into trouble, and so there's like a car collision and they blame it on him. They say that he threw a rock at one of the cars. He gets arrested, and it's not so much about him, it's more about this girl trying to uncover like her brother's secret life, and then she kind of has a thing with an older guy and that's really uncomfortable, but then it's played out so well. In the car accident it has like a paragraph told from that person's perspective and then their family's perspective, so when you're reading it you're not just thinking oh like a car accident as like a distant thing, you relate it to the people, so the impact it's had on others' lives outside the main storyline plot. I loved this, like this video is going well. Okay, so mixed feelings for this one. This is Marilyn Manson's The Long Hard Road Out of Hell. It's basically Marilyn Manson writing about his life, so from his childhood up until whatever time this kind of finishes, and on almost every page it's got kind of these hand-drawn things and all the font's different. So as you can see a lot of pictures take up where the text would be. I really did like this. This was about how Marilyn Manson was raised in a Christian school and how he doesn't believe in Christianity, and then up until him trying to make it as being the rock star that we know him today, and what his message ultimately is. I really liked his message. Times backstage, the things that they would do to the fans, I would think that he'd be like, oh, they were fine with it. They were fine with us doing that, and it's just like stuff like, oh, like tying them to a chair and making them confess their darkest secrets, but people confess like really serious shit. But you do have a certain power as a celebrity, and that kind of makes people think you're above them, and so they will do stuff that normally they're not okay with and they don't really want to do because of your power, and I think you have to appreciate that. And if you've read this book you'll only understand this, but there's a bit with a car accident and he walks past someone, and in that bit I was just like, oh, like you really hate the world, you have such a complex about the world that it's kind of a bit too far for me. And even he says in it, like at one point it's like we're doing the cliche rock and roll thing, you know, drugs, drink, women, and I think that use of women, like women as if they're like a commodity. I just have such a problem with that. Just like, oh, let's go get some women. It's like, let's go get some beer. Like, they're items. But this was glued to my hand. I really enjoyed reading it. Now for a bit of erotica. I bet you weren't expecting me to say that. This is Jacky Burton's Quarterback Draw. I didn't purchase this. Headline, thank you very much, sent me this for review. It's basically about, you've got this really attractive model, okay? Her parents have died, now she's got to look after her brother and sister. You've got this really attractive...
Oh my god, I don't even know what he is. Football star. Yep, football star.
They're very famous, they're gorgeous, they're going to get together. But then she kind of pulls back and she's like, I'm not sure I want to love you because our dad left us and so now I have to look after these kids. My mum's dead. So it actually had a storyline, like, to it more than your usual that you would think. I personally think erotic fiction is porn in book form. I don't know how to review it because it's not my kind of book, but if you do like erotic fiction, it's also not anything to do with like whips and chains, because I think people have got that like idea about it because of 50 Shades of Grey, but this is not what this is. This is just consensual like sex with no kind of kinks. I enjoyed it. I feel embarrassed because I'm English, so I don't really know how to talk about sex. Now I'm going to cut to a clip of a review of the book The Yellow Wallpaper. I had to film it on a different day because it basically had a really short library lease. Please be kind to me and know that I was very ill on that day and was a bit delirious and for some reason had decided to put on eyeshadow but no mascara and I look a bit like an alien. Hello, this is Hannah at 7 AM in the morning. Ugh. This is The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gillman. It's about a woman who's just given birth and she has to rest in this big house in the countryside. Her bed, for some reason, is nailed down to the ground and all she can see is this really intricate yellow wallpaper. And because she's sitting in the bed day in, day out, she starts obsessing over the wallpaper and the patterns start to mock her and she hates it. Of that time where the husband's like, just stay in bed, and she has to do what he says. But she starts to think she can see a woman trapped behind the pattern of the wallpaper and she's like, if only I can get this woman out of the paper and free her, which obviously that's like fantastic imagery, but it's imagery for herself because she is trapped in this room. It's fan-bloody-tastic. You should definitely pick it up. And last but not least, I have Faye Weldon's The Fat Woman's Joke. You have a husband and wife. When the book starts, they're divorced. The wife is getting fatter and fatter and fatter. She's eating loads of food and living in this like trashy little flat. Her husband has had an affair and we're learning about that and she's left him because of that. Her friend Phyllis comes to visit her all the time and tell her like, you need to like get out of this lifestyle, you need to go back to your husband, go back to him, go back to him. And then our main character is saying to her like, oh, but you're so unhappy with your marriage, why would I go back to be unhappy like you? So it's told from our main character's who's, you know, living by herself and all that. You then have it told from the other side and it's of the secretary that slept with our main character's husband, so the mistress. And then the mistress in her chapters is saying,
the reason I had an affair with my married boss wasn't because I wanted to split up his family or because I wanted to marry him or to have children with him or to have a boyfriend. It was just because I could. And
the thing with eating of like suppressing your emotions by eating huge quantities of food and how women sometimes spend their life always on a diet. You hear the same perspective twice, so once from the wife saying like, oh, this is what I think happened with his secretary, and the secretary telling you actually what happened on day one and why he cheated and what the circumstances were. Oh, I can't even say enough because there's so much in it. So it's about women's roles, it's about the way men look at women as kind of something they need. So like, I need a wife, so I'll just pick any wife and that'll do, that's okay. Not like I need a companion for life, I just need a wife to like bear my children and iron my socks. I loved this book. I loved it so much. And that's it, that's the end of today's What I've Been Reading. These are the books that I have been reading. Quick note before I go, I'm on Instagram and I don't feel like I've mentioned that on this channel, but I'm on there almost every single day posting pictures of books. So if you want to know what books will be in my next What I've Been Reading thing, or just general messy silliness, then head on over there.